What's going on, everyone? Back again, but this time to do a review on a very special fin, a fin called the Convertible Kraken by NVS, and that's Naked Viking Surf. Now, when I hold up the fin, it just seems like a little regular fin, nothing special. And if I hold it up to another fin like the MR, it's just a tad smaller. So that's the Kraken part, that's the design of the fin. But the special part is actually the convertible. And what that is, it's this portion here. It's this little offset. So basically they took the fin and moved it back about a ½ inch. So more or less, if you took a normal fin that looks like this, where it's right up against the tab, and you put the tabs and align them together as they would be sitting in a surfboard, the Kraken will be offset by being placed backwards by this distance, which is about a ½ inch. So now the idea behind that is to take any thruster or a board designed to be a thruster, and you place the Convertible Kraken in it, and it'll basically become a true twin and give you more of a twin-like feel when surfing the board. Now, if you've ever taken a thruster surfboard and put it next to a 2+1 design board or a twin surfboard, you'll notice that the fins are placed more forward or higher on a thruster than a twin or a 2+1 setup. So in short, the idea is you are taking a thruster and converting it into a twin, right? Hence the name convertible. Okay, so now we're going to look at some waves, and I'll give you my first impressions as well as overall what I thought about the fins. So here we are at day one, and initially, judging from this footage, you'll notice, and this is how I felt, I didn't like it. However, then this happened. On this wave, I got 4 turns, and each turn actually got better and better. And if you looked closely, you'll notice that in the initial wave, it was my Hypto Krypto, the blackboard, but that good wave was the Mashup. So right away, the first discovery is that the Krakens worked really well in the Mashup, but not so well in the Hypto Krypto. And I think it has to do with the very narrow pintail of the Hypto. So in actuality, this converted as a twin would probably work better with more of a keel fin. And now Naked Viking actually does offer a convertible keel fin called the Onos. So I suspect if you paired those two together, it would be ideal and work really well. Now, if you own a Hypto Krypto and you were actually considering going out and getting something like a twin pin, this might be a very cheap alternative to convert your Hypto Krypto into a twin pin by getting the Ono keels. But in here with the Kraken, it just didn't work all that well. I found it to be loose, which is good, but I also found it to be less drivey. So when you see me push off the bottom, I don't project like I normally would, especially with like the Taylor Knox 2+1 setup. Again, it had moments of greatness. So every once in a while, I'd get on the right wave and my feet would be perfectly in the right place and it would work awesome. But for the most part, with the Krakens in the Hypto, it was just a more of a discovery. That was just, So now I don't want you to get the wrong idea, because at the end of the day, these fins work fantastic, much better in the Mashup, and probably boards more like the Mashup that are true thrusters, normal tail, squash or swallow, or even a thumbtail. So this is day 2 now, and in the Mashup, you'll notice I get this really nice turn with a little bit of release, and that's where it starts to feel twinny. And if you can control those types of maneuvers, they feel amazing. One thing I do feel I have to point out is the waves are really soft. On the better waves though, they worked really well, and I really like the fins in this board. But in either case, whether it was the Hypto or the Mashup, same thing, it was a smaller sweet spot. But this is probably true of most twins, unless you're riding it as a keel. I know that on the fish beard that I tested, same thing. I had to be standing in the right spot of the board in order to get the drive and projection or the looseness that I needed. So, but overall, I think with the Krakens, it's just plain to see it works way better in the Mashup than the Hypto. And I think the Ono convertibles, the keel fin convertibles, would probably work really well in the Hypto. So now this one here is one of my favorite turns, and you'll notice I go to the bottom and I get this really just kind of powerful cut. I don't know, I guess it's a top turn. And then right after, I try to do the same thing, but there just wasn't enough steepness to the wave, and I did this weird slide, and I think it was because I'm a little heavy front-footed, and since the fins are further back, they disengage a lot easier. So now on day 3, I make a kind of a discovery that, bottom line, the fins work really well when there's a little steepness to the wave, and I think it has to do with the fact that, for me at least, I'm heavy front-footed. Applying that pressure on the front foot, obviously, because the tail rocker lifts the tail, and so the engagement of the fins isn't as tight as it needs to be. But I do discover the sweet spot a little bit better on day 3, and I notice that down the line, if I want to, get speed, I need to have my back foot almost in front of the tail pad, so further up. And then in the pocket, you could surf it further back. But all in all, once you find that sweet spot, you get kind of used to it. They work amazing. And they do have that true twinny feel, which I really do like. And one thing I'll definitely have to do is get a hold of the Convertible Onos to try in my Hypto Krypto, because I am interested in getting a twin pin. And so definitely a much less expensive alternative. So guys, to wrap it up, and this is, again, my best wave. It's an amazing fin, and I recommend you trying it. And in fact, you should kind of surf outside the box. Surf waves and fins and equipment that you're not used to, because it will help your overall surfing. Kind of looks like I'm plugging Volcom, huh? No, I'm not sponsored by them. But yeah, so to kind of wrap it up, I think the point I was trying to make is, especially if you have been getting used to a board and you go back to an older board, you'll see kind of the differences or the advancements you made. So I always recommend not only going back and trying out some of your older boards just to see how you've adjusted and how you've kind of grown. Also to get the feel, because I noticed one of my friends, he takes breaks, because he lives in Texas, and he'll come back every 3 months or so. And I sometimes feel like there's certain breaks he comes back and he surfs way better. Like he might not, or have maybe bad muscle memory with, approaching a lip. And then after taking like a 3-month break, he'll approach it just perfectly and get a couple good floaters, which he hadn't done before. So things like that, just try to change it up a bit. All right. And so anyways, really like the fins. If you really want the authentic twin feel in a thruster, this is a very good, inexpensive alternative. You'll start feeling the differences, and you might enjoy it. You might not, but at the same time, it does overall help you have better awareness of what you're doing, how your equipment's changing that, and make you a better surfer in the end. So I hope you guys liked the video. Please like, subscribe, and until the next one.